All right, y'all. To live in Elohim in the name of Yahushua HaMashiach. Chapter 5, verse 39. Search the scriptures. In them you think you have eternal life. There they was testified me. You and I come to me that you might have life. I receive not honor from men, but I know you, that you have not the love of Elohim in you. I come in my Abba's name, you receive me not. But those shall come in his own name, him you will receive. How can you believe but receive honor one from another and not the honor that comes from Elohim only? Do not think that I will accuse you. The one that accused you, even Moses, in whom you trust, had to believe Moses, you would have believed me, for he wrote of me. But if you believe not his writings, how should you believe my words? Let's go to Proverbs 21:19 and continue in our examination of David. You who are willing, Friday night will be the end of this examination, because I could drag it out for weeks at a time, and that's not necessary to do, because I need to transition to something else that I mentioned that I would do, and now it is apropos for me to do so, if you who will permit. So that is what we are going to do. Thank the Lord. Proverbs 21:19. To dwell in the wilderness with a contentious and angry woman. So, of course, we were looking at the story of David. How the story of David parallels to Yahushua in regards to separating himself. I want you to come over here to Hebrews chapter 13. I referenced it the other day, but we can look at it right now. In regards to going into the wilderness, than to be dwelling with an angry and contentious woman. We could make it verse 9. We'll run it down because there's a lot of things contained in that. And some of it has to do with what we're looking at with David. Some of it don't. But nevertheless. Hebrews 13:8. Screw it. Matter of fact, make it 7. He said, remember them that which have the rule over you, who have spoken unto you the word of Elohim, whose faith follow, considering the end of their conduct. Now, pause. This is where we're able to look at the difference. One, David considered Saul, who had rule over him, but he didn't follow his conduct. How do we know this? Because he never disrespected this man, even though this man was trying to kill him. See, this is an aspect there's a lot of people in this modern time, and it's really based off the way that we're taught. It's forth as this current society, especially in Black neighborhoods, of how Black people interact. The thought process of, I will never allow anyone to disrespect me, I don't care who they are, does not reflect to what the scriptures say. Because remember, when the people came and brought news to David that Saul had been killed, they thought that he would rejoice, and he did not. Because he understood that Saul was Yahuwah's anointed. Hold on for a moment. He knew that Saul was Yahuwah's anointed. You know, come over here to Exodus 22:16, if I'm not mistaken. Man, we talked about this before, because, you know, Paul had went, and then when the dude told him, hey, man, that's Yahuwah's anointed. Whoa. I ain't know that who that was. Because if I would have known that, then I wouldn't have done that. And of course, that's a different thing. I was 22, 28. It's in the same chapter right there, but this was the wrong verse. Listen what it say, right? You shall not revile the gods, nor curse the ruler of your people. For most of you know that sometimes when you see the word gods used, it is referring to judges. And I will manifest that for you real quick, right? And then we will move on. When you look at revile, I know most of you already know what that is, but we'll look at the Hebrew word for it. It is kalal, and it is to hold of little account or to lightly esteem. So to have no honor. He said, do not basically dishonor the gods. Of course, it has Elohim. That's rulers, judges, divine ones, angels, gods, godlike one, the true Elohim, Elohim. So that's a ruler or a judge. So the text teaches us that we are never supposed to lightly honor the rulers or curse the ruler of your people, even if this nigga sideways. Curse is a rar, if you don't know, and that is in regard to curse, to be cursed, to lay under a curse, to put a curse on. Now, see, let me show you an example of why that is important. John chapter 12. Remember, in 1 Samuel chapter 2, I want to say about verse 33, somewhere in there, he makes mention of that whosoever lightly esteems Yahuwah, he will lightly esteem. So this is even when he tell you this here, and the example of this is in 1 Samuel or 2 Samuel 15, whatever the story is, with the Benjamite who cursed David, of why even with cursing and blaspheming the king, you can be forgiven because David had forgave him. This is why Yahushua say you could blaspheme the name of the Son and be forgiven, but you blaspheme the Ruach, you going to hell. Nevertheless, chapter 12. Now chapter 12. 12 and 25. On chapter 12, verse 25. And it says, he that loveth his life shall lose it. He that hate his life in this world shall keep it unto life eternal. If any man serve me, let him follow me. And where I am, there shall also my servant be. If any man serve me, him will my Abba honor. This is one of the reasons why David's honor is evil as Saul was. He still served the man. See, that is a level of humility in this day and time that most of us have, and that's because of pride. See, we don't have it in our minds. See, come over here to 1 Timothy chapter 5 in this regard. See, now, and I want y'all to be clear on what I'm about to tell you. Just because somebody is evil does not mean you go along with the evil, but it doesn't give us license to be openly disrespectful to them if they are in a position of authority in the body of Mashiach, no matter how evil they might be. Because if you look at it in the time of David and Saul, the highest offices was high priest and king. Saul was the first king in the history of Yasharal. This man, David, has already known that Yahuwah has chosen him to be king. Oh, yeah, that's not a problem. Has chosen him to be king. And he never disrespected this man once. Most of us, if we knew that Yahuwah had came and chosen us to be king, we would probably be talking real greasy and reckless to the person who we were going to replace, especially if they were seeking to do you evil. You wouldn't be able to back and understand. I ain't really got to do nothing. Yahuwah will deal with him when he see fit to deal with him. Because since David loved Yahuwah so much, he would never disrespect the man who Yahuwah placed in a particular position while he was in that position, even though he has been told that he will be in said position. See, let's look at 1 Timothy chapter 5 and verse 1. Now, of course, when it's referring to an elder, it is referring to a pastor specifically, but also, you know, you should also have that same mantra when you're dealing with someone older than you. If someone is definitely considered to be an elder as far as age is concerned, you're supposed to treat it the same way. So it says, rebuke not an elder, but entreat him as a father, and the younger men as brethren. So what the text, and you can see that when you see David dealing with Saul, because literally David was his son, Saul's son-in-law. It's literally his father-in-law. He's married to one of Saul's daughters. You know what I'm saying? He never approached Saul like Saul was his equal. He entreated this man as a father, even when he caught him slipping. Nevertheless, and the elder women as mothers, the youngest as sisters with all purity. So these things are supposed to be done in regards to, you're supposed to treat each other as if you're literally blood relatives. If there's an older woman in the congregation, you're supposed to treat her like you treat your mother. The sisters, male to female, female to female, are supposed to treat each other like brothers and sisters. Man to man, brother to brother. It's no difference. The pastor, the elder, whatever the case may be, as a father, that's how that's supposed to be done. This is how you maintain the structure and the order, and the honor stays how it's supposed to be. He said, but of course, we're going into widows. We're not going to talk about that. Let's answer her question. We still got Hebrews 13 on that. Wait, so good. There it is. There it is. Leviticus chapter 24, verse 10. Leviticus 24 and 10. The son of an Israelitish woman whose father was an Egyptian went out among the sons of Yasharal, and this son of this Israelitish woman, a man of Yasharal, strove together in the camp. The Israelitish woman's son blasphemed the name of Yahuwah and cursed, and they brought him unto Moses, and his mother's name was Shalamoth, the daughter of Debri of the tribe of Dan. Now we've looked at this before. It's been a little minute, but let's look at blaspheme. Nakab. This one here is to pierce, to perforate, but also to curse or to blaspheme. I mean, even if an elder is continually disrespecting you, would you raise your tone of voice to your father, to your grandfather, to your uncle, to your great uncles? Would you do them that way? Because anybody who's an elder is representative of, you have to remember, he told you to honor your father and your mother. He's never given anyone license to disrespect someone older than them, even if they're stupid. At that point, you have to learn to not have the need to be right and straighten them, but leave them alone until their folly and let Yahuwah deal with them. That's where your wisdom come in at. Because you ain't supposed to be going back and forth with no older man. That's just not supposed to happen. You know what I'm saying? If he disrespects you, that just shows the level of man that he is. And you look at David and Saul as your example. Saul disrespected David on multiple occasions. Even after David showed him, I could have killed you, and didn't do it, he still continued to disrespect him after that. So if no man has disrespected you to the point where he sought to take your life, I'm talking about actively seek it, then you can just look this thing in the face and say, clearly, this is an old fool, and let that man stew away in his stupidity and misery. Now, when you look at blaspheme in regards to that, it means to desire to execute violence, also to blaspheme, to pierce through, to strike through. Amen. Indeed, that's all. And see, really where that come from, we feel like, because again, it's because of how we raised. You feel like, I ain't finna let a nigga disrespect me. I don't care who he is. And when you feel like you ain't getting the level of straightening that you want to get, we feel like we could buck up against him. That's still an old man. You know what I'm saying? That's still an old man. Sometimes it'd be hard for her to realize that this old nigga stupid. You know what I'm talking about? So let him be stupid. And of course, blaspheming is basically profane talk or speaking against Elohim. That's basically what it is to blaspheme, to speak against Yahuwah. And again, it's Nakab, it's Noon, Kuf, and Ba. So a lot of individuals don't believe that the sun is the light of life, so they speak against it. You know what I'm saying? They don't believe that Yahushua brings forth the light of life, because in him was light, and that light is the life of men. So therefore, they speak against it, they blaspheme, and they speak evil things against Yahuwah. Let's give another example of blaspheming for her. I want you to pause from the. Now let's take a trip to Ezekiel 35. Let's take a trip to Ezekiel 35. And maybe we'll take a look at Raymond in regard to Ezekiel in Ezekiel 33. But this is why he said, son of man, they speak against you, against the doors. You know what I'm talking about? Talking trash about what you're talking about. This is why he turned around. This is Ezekiel chapter 35. You can pick it up at verse 10. This is he tell you that he that despiseth not man but Elohim, because he's given us his Ruach HaKadosh. Because if an individual is speaking against somebody who has the word, you're not really speaking against him, you're speaking against Yahuwah. But again, Yahuwah will forgive you for that. What he does not forgive is blaspheming that Ruach, the saying that a word by the Ruach is done by some nefarious means, if you would. See, a lot of brothers be quick to say somebody blaspheme the Ruach, and they just be talking because you're not doing no work by no Ruach. I just was talking to a young lady the other day, and she's, a lot of bruise. I done told you in the past, we prophets of the Lord. Nigga, you are not a prophet if you open up the book and read something out the book and say we the prophets of the Lord. If you ever hear somebody say they're a prophet of the Lord and all they did was read what was written, then you just know that you're dealing with an idiot, a spiritually inept and foolish individual. Hold your peace and move your feet. That's all you got to do. You ain't got to point it out and say you ain't no prophet of the Lord, because you should have already known from the text that he's not one. No need to discuss it. Move on about your business. Because we know that the law said that a prophet of Yahuwah is made manifest through a dream. That means Yahuwah would show himself to that man in a dream. That man is going to come to you. That man or woman is going to come to you and say, thus saith Yahuwah, speak a word that has not occurred, that shall surely come to pass. You reading Ezekiel 35:11 does not make you a prophet of Yahuwah. That makes you a reader of the book. Simple and plain. It makes you a reader of the book. If you're able to discern the prophecies contained in the book, that does not make you a prophet. That makes you a koalef, aka a preacher, an arranger of sentences. That does not make you a prophet. That does not make you a prophet. It doesn't make you anything but somebody can arrange the book and organize the sentences to cause individuals to understand it. People be assigning themselves job titles and don't even know how you qualify for the job. As we told you in times past, an apostle and a prophet can only be hired by Elohim himself. No man can make you a prophet. No man can make you an apostle. Nobody can hire you for that job. No flesh and blood man can hire you for that job. That job has to be given strictly to you from on high. Period, point blank. That's why I don't argue with people who say you a prophet, then by all means, brother. You an apostle, by all means. I can test you to see if you want according to the word, and I can hold my peace after I've done it. But I'm not going to argue with you back and forth about if you are or you aren't. If you say you are, brother, then praise the Lord. I'm going about my business. I'm not going to argue. You got that. You know what I'm saying? For what? Because guess what? What if that man is one? Then you fighting against Elohim, and you're not going to win fighting against him. So why would I fight against it? Amen, brother. Amen. Ezekiel 35:11. I said verse 10. Let me do that for you. He said, because you have said these two nations and these two countries shall be mine, and we will possess it, whereas Yahuwah was there. So y'all know if it states that Yahuwah was there, you know it's talking about Jerusalem. For those who are veterans who've been around for a good little season, you know that this is talking about the end times. He says, and you shall know, I'm sorry. Verse 11. Therefore, as I live, saith Yahuwah Elohim, I will even do according to your anger, according to your envy, which you have had, which you have used, out of your hatred against them. And I will make myself known among them when I have judged you. And you shall know that I am Yahuwah, that I have heard all your blasphemies, which you have spoken against the mountains of Yasharal, saying they are desolate and they are given to consume. Let's look at blasphemies here. Let's see what word is used here. Blasphemies, we have a different word here. We have netzah. This one here is to scorn, to hold in contempt. Let's look at the English definition for contempt. Because I know y'all know what it means, but we won't go ahead and just be specific, if you would. And that is a feeling that a person or thing is beneath consideration, worthless, and deserving of scorn. Scorn is ridicule and mocking. This is saying that he's sitting back saying that these people, one, we read about the man in Leviticus 24, his disrespect. So when you're blaspheming, you're saying that somebody is worthy to be scorned, to be mocked. Which, of course, there are prophecies stating that Yahushua will be mocked, scorned, things of that nature. Pause. Come over here to and the spell Netzah for y'all to know: Noon, Aleph, Sod, and Hey. Come over here to Psalms chapter 1. From Psalms 1, 2 Peter chapter 3. Praise Yahuwah. Let's come on with it. Psalms 1:1. Blessed is the man that walk not in the counsel of the ungodly. This is one of the first things. We didn't talk about this before. You walking in the counsel of the ungodly makes no sense. Indeed, he did. And the only reason why he went back here because Yahuwah sent him back to go straighten that lie. Because that man prophesied a bold-faced lie. And he said, amen, brother. Yahuwah bring it to pass. And when it did, Yahuwah went to send him back. He said, well, go straighten that. I didn't sit back and argue with you for what? I already know if it's a word of prophecy, you don't argue with him if it is a word of prophecy. You wait to see if the prophecy is going to come to pass. And that's how you know if it be the word of Yahuwah or not. But look what he said, right? Blessed is the man that walk not in the counsel of the ungodly, nor stand in the way of sinners, nor sit in the seat of the scornful. But his delight is in the Torah of Yahuwah, and in his law do he meditate day and night. So look at this here, right? You don't want to sit in the seat of scorns. People who hold your God in contempt. See, that's something that we done discussed. This is some of the things that I be telling y'all in regards to the thought process of modern people, specifically women. Because I can see the way that women look at men. This is how they look at Yahuwah. This is why they're turning from him and telling you they're goddesses and dealing with all of these things because they hold men in contempt. They feel like men are beneath them and that they are better than men. They only feel this way because of their envy, because they wish that they were a man and not necessarily biologically a man, but to have the rule, power, and authority that they perceive men to have. As I told you the other day, there's no such thing as a double standard. You have to eliminate that type of thinking from your thought process. There's no double standard because there's different standards for different things. A woman has a different standard than a man. You can't say it's a double standard that a man's supposed to provide, protect, and lead unless you want to do away with what has been the standard since the beginning of man. Because if you say that, oh, you can't say that, oh, I don't need a man to do this here and then expect him to provide, protect, and lead. Because then a man can say, well, that's a double standard. Because you want this, but you want me to maintain a traditional function. See, if you want a traditional function, then you have to operate in a traditional fashion to get it. Oh, why can men sleep with a bunch of women, but a woman can't do it? Because your body wasn't designed for it and you know it. But you want to be a man because at the end of the day, you can't produce children on your own. You have eggs, you need seed. Your eggs are worthless without the seed. Regardless if you believe a man can have one woman or 17 women, that's not the point. The point of the matter is the seed is what fertilizes the soil in order for that to bring forth life. So you be sleeping with random people is a pointless endeavor because it doesn't lead to what's necessary. Why? Because if you're pregnant, you can't have another baby till you have that baby. Now, as you take a case in point, and we were just looking at the text, and no, by no means is this any advocating for that particular choice. That's on each individual. You deal with Yahuwah with it when the time comes. Gideon had 70 turns from 18 different women. So don't you know that he could have had 4 or 5 women pregnant at the same time? But a woman can't be pregnant 4 or 5 times, get 4 or 5 men, be pregnant by 4 or 5 men at the same time. That's not the purpose. The nature of your body shows you what you should and should not be doing. But you feel like screw standards, screw gender roles. That's your business. That's why these women out here miserable. That's why people out here miserable. Because you want to do it your own way, and your own way does not produce satisfaction. It doesn't produce satisfaction. And it just is what it is. You know what I'm saying? It just is what it is. People come up with double standards, the term double standards, in regards to being able to do what it is that they want to do unencumbered. And again, that stuff comes from, that's a failure of people's fathers. Whether he was absent, passive, weak, or whatever the case may be. Because your daddy's supposed to straighten you and taught you properly before you even stepped out the door dealing with any type of man. You know what I'm saying? You have people who pick that T.I. for the fact that he watches over his daughter he's supposed to. He's supposed to. Your daughter ain't supposed to be entertaining no men at no 14, 15, 16, 17 years old. She's stupid. You think she gonna make a wise decision with hormonal changes in a horny young boy? What you think gonna happen? You think she gonna pick wisely? You think she gonna pick? How many of you young men with daughters would gladly pass your young daughter to a young man and say, "Go ahead, go and be prosperous"? You wouldn't do it because you know that's not what you should do. It's not wise. It's not setting her up for success. Your job as a father is to set your kids up for success. Not you go out here and figure it out. That's what I had to do. That's nigga teaching. That's nigga teaching. You don't teach your kids no junk like that, man. That's why stuff bad out here. Second Peter chapter 3, verse 1. That's why bad out here. Now, don't get me wrong. Sometimes your people ain't had nothing to give you. And you have to be able to recognize that too. If your people didn't have it to give, then you can't really be angry and upset with them for them not being able to give you something that they did not possess. Because at the end of the day, they people too. Because they can only give you what they were given. We don't take that in consideration because you feel like everybody's just supposed to have everything and know everything, have the ability to maneuver in every life situation and circumstance. You can only do it if you're well prepared. Now, I've told y'all many days before, if you go to hell, you're not going to go to hell because you weren't well prepared to avoid it. That I'm going to make certain. By the grace of Yahushua, I've been making certain of that for almost 9 calendar years. You're not going unprepared. You're not going saying you weren't given the appropriate and proper information to make sure that you were set up to be successful. Of that, you will not be able to lay at my feet. You know what I'm saying? You can say I'm crude and crass. You might say you don't like this, that, and the third, but you're not going to say that I left you unprepared. Of that, you will not be able to say. That I will guarantee with every ounce of strength in my body, you will be fully prepared. 2 Peter chapter 3 and verse 1. This second epistle, beloved, I now write unto you, and both which I stir up your pure minds by way of remembrance, that you may be mindful of the words which were spoken before by the Kadash prophets and of the commandment of us, the apostles of our Lord and Savior, knowing this first, that in the last days shall come, that there shall come in the last days, scoffers, walking after their own lusts, and saying, where is the promise of his coming? For since the fathers fell asleep, all things continue as they were from the beginning of creation. Now, there's a couple of Psalms where it says that. Where's Yahuwah? Where he at? You know what I'm talking about? Like these people really said this. That's blasphemous. Because you mocking, you scoffing. Oh, he ain't never coming around here for them people. Let me find one of them. Psalms 115. 115 and 1 if you would. One 15 and 1. Psalms. Not unto us, O Yahuwah, not unto us, but unto your name give esteem for your mercy and for your truth's sake. Wherefore should the heathen say, where is now their Elohim? But our Elohim is in Shamahim. He have done whatsoever he have pleased. Their idols are silver and gold, the works of men's hands. They have mouths, but they speak not. Eyes they have not, but they see not, and so on and so forth. Definitely people do that. I told y'all the story about the man William Raspberry when I was locked up. He definitely did it. Bible verses in his shoes every court date. In the prayer circle, singing "Trouble Won't Last Always" with niggas with the chain gang preacher. Not even say the chain, the jailhouse preacher. And the minute them white folks gave that nigga that 10 years, well, I don't know if this book real. I don't even know if it's real. That's how you felt because you didn't get what you want. Why do you think people ain't nobody coming out the sky to save you? That's blasphemy. See, people hold you in utter contempt. Come on, let me finish this Ezekiel 35. You know, of course, you know in Revelation 12, it tell you, or Revelation 13, excuse me, how the beast will blaspheme the name of Elohim, his tabernacle, blaspheme heaven, speak against him. You beneath me. That's ugly. That's ugly. Ezekiel 35, right? Verse 12. And you shall know that I am Yahuwah, that I've heard all your blasphemies which you have spoken against the mountains of Yasharal. They are laid desolate. They are given to us to consume. Thus with your mouth you have boasted against me. You have multiplied your words against me. I have heard them. See the beauty with Yahuwah. When we got boasted, you got Gadal. You done made, promoted, made powerful. You done magnified your words, which should tell you about the beast doing so. He said, I heard you talking. See, Yahuwah's a gangster. So he just gonna let you run your mouth because I already know I can whoop you. So there's no need for me to get frustrated, agitated, angered, or any of that. That's why we talked about that. We read Ecclesiastes 7. You don't be hasty in your spirit to be angry, because angry rests in the bosom of fools. Because Yahuwah is slow to anger. Stuff don't get him upset. Not to the point how we get upset, because we could go from zero. Like, we promote getting angry quickly as if that is an endearing trait. I go to 0 to 60 real quick. That means you have little lack of control of your emotions and thought patterns, nigga. As a man, you ought to be ashamed. That ain't nothing to be proud of. That ain't nothing to boast about. I get angry real quick. I spaz out. Nigga, that's feminine. That means you can't control yourself. And if you can't control your emotions, you're not fit to lead, which means you're not fit to raise children, much less direct a woman. How you gonna do that? You can't even be a leader of men because you can't control yourself. How can other men look to you and have the counsel and wisdom to give us? I know he has a vision and direction to guide us, and this nigga can't control himself. See, that's a hard pill, but it's the reality of life. Hebrews 13. And again, it goes back to the key component. And those two key components is this. Number one, you don't know your God. Number two, your daddy wasn't there. See, if your daddy knew his God, then your daddy could have taught you, and then you could have been a man, and then your friends would have been men, and then you would have had men in your community, which means when you would have reproduced and made a son in your image and likeness, that he would have got the game that your daddy gave you. And because you don't have that, and niggas getting game from their mama, and now you put your mama on a pedestal and hold her in a high regard for teaching you absolutely nothing in regards to being a leader of men, a leader of a woman, a leader of offspring, a pillar in your community, and of such. Now you angry. Now you angry. You know what I'm saying? Mom Dukes is Mom Dukes. You got to love Mom Dukes. Mom Dukes carries you for 9 months. She gave you breast milk, or she gave you the powder. I mean, it don't make no difference, but she fed you. When nobody wasn't there to wipe your butt, she came and wiped it. She bathed you. She held you. When you hurt yourself, she kissed you and gave you a hug. When you were scared, she comforted you. And for all of those things, she should be honored for her purpose. She fed you prayerfully. She was a good cook. She fed you good food. Knew the food that you liked, made it for you because she seen it made you happy because you was a baby. But eventually, one day, you're not going to be her baby no more. You're going to be a man. And you need a man to give you the info in order for you to be a man, to come out here and function, to reproduce, and to lead other men. Mom Dukes can't give you that. That's no disrespect to Mom Dukes. Mom Dukes going to play her position and her role prayerfully well. You know what I'm talking about? We ain't minimizing Mom Dukes' role, but the standard for Mom Dukes ain't the standard for Pops. She can't give you what Pop can give you. See, Mom Dukes can scar you from a confidence aspect. She can scar you in different ways while being present. That a lot of us don't like to acknowledge. See, one of the hardest things that most people want to acknowledge is that their parents were trash. Mama or daddy. When I say trash, meaning useless, and in the regards to preparing you for the outside world of being someone's father, someone's husband, someone's brother, someone's friend, someone's companion. When I say companion, I'm talking about friend regard, confidant, crony, someone that they can depend and rely on. You know what I'm saying? That stuff is different. Because men have to be able to depend and rely on one another in order to get things done. And if you can't depend on the man standing next to you, then what are you going to be able to accomplish? We all know that taking them characters for Ock is a strong defense. So you're supposed to rely on this man. If you can't rely on him, what purpose do you serve? And that's one of the questions that everybody has to ask themselves. What purpose do you serve to the individuals around you? What purpose do you serve? Just being in somebody's presence, you're useless. You're useless. Unfortunately, some men are like that. Which of course makes it difficult to take his counsel because he ain't following it. Leviticus 24:12. They put him in the ward that the mind of Yahuwah might be showed them. Of course, mind of Yahuwah here is pay, and that's that word. And they said, let's put him over here in this jailhouse. Let's see what that word is. He said, bring forth him that cursed without the camp, and let all that heard him lay their hands upon his head, and let all the congregation stone him. And you shall speak unto the sons of Yasharal, whosoever curses Elohim shall bear his sin. He that blasphemes in the name of Yahuwah, he shall surely be put to death. All the congregation shall surely stone him, as well as the stranger, as he that is born in the land. When he blasphemes the name of Yahuwah, shall be put to death. See, that's harsh right there. Same word for blaspheme here, Nakar. See, that's rough right there. Now come over here, what it is. Matthew, just so we can read what it say. Now, of course, he's telling you that you should die, meaning hit the grave, not go to hell. That you should be stoned. That's a sin, and that's a sin unto death. That is a sin unto death. That is a sin that you don't want to be doing. A lot of people blaspheme all the time, though. Now, come over here to Mark chapter 3. I ain't Mark 3:26. So after this, Hebrews 13. Well, shoot, 3:23. Mark. Or 22. And the scribes which came down from Jerusalem say, he had Beelzebub, by the prince of devils cast he out devils. He called them unto them and said unto them in parables, how can Hashatan cast out Hashatan? How can the adversary get rid of an adversary? Ask yourself that question. Because remember, the book of Proverbs say, cast out the scorner and contention will cease. You cast out the mocker, all the strife is going to stop. That's why we've dealt with that in the past. I'll give you a brief synopsis. If you cast out the mocker, because all Satan wants to do is accuse, whisper, and mock. So if you resist the devil, he will flee from you. If you cast him out, the contention and the strife, because remember, the ruach is willing, but the flesh is weak, all that will stop. Which is why death has stopped, because Yahusha cast out the scorner. And the contention and the strife between you and your Elohim has ceased. Because the thing that kept you separated from your Elohim, which was the sin that the scoffer and the mocker was bringing about, is why it takes. So you have to cast that out. You have to get rid of it. Nevertheless, if a kingdom be divided against itself, that kingdom cannot stand. If a house be divided against itself, that house cannot stand. And if Hashatan rise up against himself and be divided, he cannot stand but have an end. No man can enter into a strong man's house and spoil his goods, except he will first bind the strong man, then he will spoil his house. Truly I say unto you, all sins shall be forgiven unto the sons of men, and blasphemies wherewithsoever they shall blaspheme. But he that shall blaspheme against the Ruach HaKodesh have never forgiven, but is in danger of eternal damnation. So if you speak against Elohim, you can be forgiven. You can be forgiven. Don't speak against that Ruach, though. And that's why you don't always open your mouth. You know what I'm saying? About individuals. Nevertheless, Hebrews 13. And we didn't talk about that many, many, many moons ago. That is a dangerous thing. Remember, that's what got Aaron and Miriam in trouble. Speaking against the man who worked for Yahuwah. Yahuwah wasn't with it. He wasn't with it. 13:8, 7. Remember, this is Hebrews 13:7. Remember them which have the rule over you, who have spoken to you the word of Elohim, whose faith follow, considering the end of their conduct. Yahushua HaMashiach, the same yesterday, today, and forever. Be not carried about with diverse and strange doctrine is a good thing, that the heart is established with grace and not with meats, which have not profited them that have been occupied therein. We have an altar whereof we have no right to eat, which serve the tabernacle. For the bodies of those beasts whose blood is brought into the sanctuary by the high priest for sin are burned without the camp. Wherefore Yahushua also, that he might sanctify the people with his own blood, suffered without the gate. Let us go forth, therefore, unto him without the camp, bearing his reproach. Remember, David is bearing a dishonor from Saul, and he chose to separate himself from outside the camp and carry that dishonor. Because remember, the reproaches of them that reproached you have fallen on me. Let me see. Yes. 1 Samuel chapter 20. And we read 1 Samuel 23 not too long ago with David at Keilah. So we just going to get straight on to the point. I want y'all to pick this up at verse 9. 1 Samuel chapter 23, verse 9. David knew that Saul secretly practiced mischief against him. And he said to Abiathar the priest, bring hither the ephod. Then said David, O Yahuwah Elohim of Yasharal, your servant, have certainly heard that Saul seek to come to Keilah to destroy the city for my sake. Will the men of Keilah deliver me up into his hand? Will Saul come down as your servant have heard? O Yahuwah Elohim of Yasharal, I beseech you, tell your servant. Yahuwah said, he will come down. Then said David, will the men of Keilah deliver me and my men into the hand of Saul? Yahuwah said unto you, then Yahuwah said, they will deliver you up. Then David and his men, which were about 600, arose and departed out of Keilah and went soever they could go. And it was told Saul that David was escaped from Keilah, and he forbore to go forth. David abode in the wilderness in strongholds and remained in the mountain in the wilderness of Ziph. Saul sought him every day. Elohim delivered him not into his hands. See, this gives you also an inkling into Yahusha, because he removed himself from the scribes and Pharisees consistently because they sought to kill him, and that he never delivered Yahusha into the scribes and Pharisees' hands because his time had not yet come. Again, it is all the same word, speaking all the same things. I want you to look, I think we looked at Ziph. So he's in the city, which means battlement, which regards who calls the stronghold against, i.e. God and pay. So what do you see? As you see that the right hand, by the word of Elohim, the right hand of Yahusha was cut in the back. I want you to come over here to 2 Corinthians chapter 10. You can pick it up at 10 and 1. Now I, Paul, myself, but being absent and bold toward you. Bold when I am present with that confidence, whereof I think to be bold against some, which think of us as if we have walked according to the flesh. Although we walk in the flesh, we do not war after the flesh. And again, we're looking at in regards that to David. He walked in the flesh. He did not war with with Saul after the flesh. That is not what he did. All you gotta do is pay attention. I say, man, a lot of people say, man, Paul letters, this, that, the third. Man, it's all the same word. Niggas unskilled, at the end of the day. And that's what it is. They don't know the text, so they can't understand what this man is talking about and be able to give you that example. Because David did not war with this man after the flesh. He could have went, this man had 600 men with him. He could have went to war with Saul if he wanted to. He was in the battle, man, and in a stronghold. The stronghold being Yahuwah himself, dwelling in the wilderness of Ziph, which is the battlement, the place where he could fight. But he chose to fight by his way of Yahuwah. Or as it says in 2 Chronicles 16, that the eyes of Yahuwah run to and fro throughout the earth and show himself strong towards those whose heart trust in him, or whose heart is perfect towards him. This man will show himself strong to anybody whose heart is knit together in perfection with him. Because when you talk about a heart being perfect towards Elohim, that means that you have a faith and love towards Elohim. Most of us do not believe or trust and hope in him. And we're just doing this because this is what we're supposed to do. It's forth is what we perceive by the people around us. But many people don't actually have an unwavering hope and trust in Elohim. They don't have an expectation of reward. See, the expectation of reward transcends the things that we generally talk about as people who say, I was telling somebody the other day, oh, I'm in the truth. What does that even mean? We say stuff cliche with it. What does that even mean? Nevertheless, for though we walk in the flesh, we do not war after the flesh. For the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but mighty through Elohim to the pulling down of strongholds. Yes, he did. Casting down imaginations and every high thing that exalts itself against the knowledge of Elohim, bringing into captivity every thought to the obedience of Mashiach. And it's apropos that you place that there, because that's what that is. He cast down the plots, plans, and inventions that he had in order to do to Saul, to stay true to the word, because most of us don't even consider that Saul coming after this man was Yahuwah trying David to see what was in his heart. See, we don't even sit back and look at a lot of the things that you experience as for, because you feel like I'm being tested, and it's to see what's in your heart. Do you love the man or you don't? You believe, and for this one, it ain't even just the keeping of the commandment, because this ain't got nothing to do with don't break no Sabbaths, don't eat no pork. It was dealing with the aspects of who you is. Are you merciful? Are you compassionate? Do you do just judgment? Are you good? Are you meek? That's what the man showed. Every time he would test it, he showed the character and mind of Elohim. That transcends. This is what Yahushua was talking about, that you need to be dealing with the weightier matters of the law, judgment, mercy, and faith. But you leave those undone to talk to a nigga about tithes and Sabbath days. Where your feast days at, brother? Where your fringes at? Your cornball behind out of here, boy. You ain't talking about nothing. Because you'll tell me about that, but you won't do this other stuff. You don't even believe in the man. You don't have no hope of reward at all. You're worthless. You're Belial, son. You're worthless. What we got you for? Back to 1 Samuel 20. What do we got you for? It don't serve no purpose. That's how you will see it too. You don't serve no purpose. Let me get stronghold for you real quick. It's Metzad. Of course, this is a stronghold. Mean side and Dalit. So you can see that the way that the Ruach will lead you is to sacrifice. And those who are led by the Ruach Elohim are the sons of Elohim, because the Ruach of Elohim led the son of Elohim to crucify himself, to offer himself. Nevertheless, let's continue. David saw that Saul was come out to seek his life. David was in the wilderness of Ziph in a wood. Of course, you know, Jonathan, Saul's son, arose and went to David into the wood and strengthened his hand in Elohim. And again, showing you that you got to be able to depend on your brethren. See, now Jonathan knew, now there's a difference. Jonathan knew that the man was in distress. So when you know the man he was in distress, he came to give him some assistance. Most men, because how we've been taught in this society, is we don't like to tell your brethren that you in distress. Most of the time, because you thinking your brethren gonna do what you seen your mama and her female friends do. And that's how individuals feel. Because see, most women, they like to see their friends down. Give them something, their lives are boring. Give them something to talk about. You know what I'm talking about? A man don't want to. A man's not gonna turn around and throw another man's weakness in his face if they have a fallout. I remember that time you were weak, nigga. Niggas don't do that. You know what I'm saying? Unless you a buster. At the end of the day, if you look at this man and you say that's your friend, you want him to be better than what he was yesterday. You don't want him down here leaning and stooping down. You want to be able to stand up so that he can know that you can depend on him. If it happened to you, you know that you can depend on him, and vice versa. That's how it's going. It's leaning and depending on one another, which is dealing with the carrying your brother's burdens. As Simon the Cyrene carried Yahushua's burden. Same way that Yahushua carrying your burden. And we done talked about this before in the text. This is another aspect of he that have friends must show himself friendly. And there's a love that stay closer to a brother. It's all relate. Every time we talk about anything, it all come back to the same thing because it's all the same word. It's telling you the same thing. It's not going to change. It's an everlasting word. We just read it. Yahushua HaMashiach, the same yesterday, today, and forever. So you're not going to get some great new exciting doctrine. If that's what you're looking for, you need to go read something else. Because Yahuwah is a consistent man. He doesn't change. It's what it is. It hasn't changed. It's steadfast. It's the ancient path. You find rest for your souls. Roll with it. Rock with it. Stick with it. You can't get no worse. Anything that we done done, boy, following Yahuwah, it can't be worse than what we already been doing. And if you actually put your hand to the plow and do it, you'll see that it's the greatest thing that you'll ever encounter. Now, you're not going to be able to acknowledge it's the greatest thing you ever encountered if you're just going through the motions. See, most people just going through the motions. It's Sabbath day. Got to show up. Oh, it's when I got to get on the screen. You're just going through the motions. Or if it was in person, we got service on Wednesday. Now I got to just going through the motions. You go through the motions, you're not going to get the benefit of the experience because it's not from the heart. You don't do it with joy. It's not a desire. You don't look forward to it. Which in turns, if it's not on the quote unquote assigned days, you ain't opening up the text. You ain't thinking about the text. You're not meditating on the word. The word is of no concern to you until you're forced to do it. And you're not going to yield top-notch results with minimal and lackluster effort. Nevertheless, he said unto him, fear not, the hand of Saul my father shall not find you. You shall be king over Yasharal. I shall be next unto you. And that also Saul my father know. And they two made a covenant before Yahuwah. David abode in the wood. Jonathan went to his house. Then came up the Ziphites to Saul to Gibeah, saying, do not David hide himself with us in the strongholds, in the wood, in the hill of Hakiah, which is on the south of Jeshimon. Now, therefore, O king, come down according to all the desire of your soul, to come down, and our part shall be to deliver him into the king's hand. And Saul said, blessed be you of Yahuwah, for you have compassion on me. Now, we're not going to read all of that. Psalms 54. Psalms 54 is the corresponding psalm with this story. Psalms 54. To the chief musician on Niganoth, Mashal, a psalm of David. When the Ziphims came and said to Saul, do not David hide himself with us. Save me, O Elohim, by your name, and judge me by your strength. Pause. John 17. Now he said to save him by his name and to judge him by his strength. Judging here is den, contend, plead, minister judgment. Matter of fact, the prophet of Habakkuk chapter 1. Let me do that first. John 17. He said he gonna say, hey man, vindicate me by your power. I need vindication. These people coming to kill me. Notice that David is asking for this here. Not that I'm going to vindicate myself. Remember, vengeance is of Yahuwah. He shall repay. Their foot will slide in due time. See, a lot of people say that's that weak stuff. No, you just a nigga don't believe in the word, cause it's okay. See, it's funny that anytime you have a conversation with a brewer and you tell them that you're gonna conduct your actions, your reactions according to the tenets of what the word, because they just belong to you. That's in the law. But niggas scream the law all day. But when there's aspects of the law that pertain to character and trusting you, they don't want to keep it. But you want to rail on the nigga about Sabbath days. And this woman's wearing pants or not, or wasn't keeping feed day. But the aspects of not holding grudges, loving your neighbor as yourself, not slandering your neighbor's name, and all these things that pertain to your conduct of your character, Hebrews don't want to talk about. See, that's that Christian stuff. Get your whole behind out of here, you coward, wicked, evil bastard. Prayerfully, this man forgive you for the wicked intents of your heart, you no good, useful bastard Jew. This is why people don't take the talk of the law seriously, because they know that niggas don't keep it. And how do we know you don't keep it? Because you boast in the easiest things to do. It is not difficult not to eat shrimp, pork, and lobster. It's not that difficult. It's not at all. It's not difficult to keep a Sabbath day. And most niggas can't do that. Man, you know, man got to take care of his family. You got to go to work. Sit your cow behind. As a son, I see my father as a disgrace. If he came to me and say, son, we don't work on the Sabbath, but daddy got to go to work because, you know, it's lawful for a man to do good. You know, I got to pay these bills. I wouldn't respect my daddy after telling me that. Nigga, you don't even fear and trust your own God. You told me that this man do this, that, and the third, and yet you taking your power behind the work today. Man, I don't respect you, nigga. I don't respect you, man. How can I respect you as a man if you don't trust this man enough to take a stand knowing that he would actually provide for you? Because if you lost your job, you lost it for his name's sake. You know how many brews talk against people like this here? Man, I tell people all the time, I can't tell you to quit your job. I tell you what the words say, and I tell you what I'll do. Because I guarantee you, boy, I'm not coming. You know what I'm saying? But that's one of the aspects of, that's why I own my own. I don't have to ask a nigga for no Sabbath off. I keep it that way. I don't have to ask another man, can I serve my God? I dare not. But that's just me personally. I dare not. I'm not asking no man for nothing. I serve my God when I feel like it. Period. I had a customer hit me up today. Y'all coming to work? Oh, man, I observed the Sabbath. He said, oh, I didn't know Shabbat Shalom. Yeah, man. No disrespect. I don't got to wear it on my sleeve. But if you ask me, oh, you doing this? Absolutely not. And it's not even up for discussion or debate. I'm not doing it. I don't care what you pay. Can you send your guys around there? Absolutely not. I'm not sending nobody nowhere. And you going to respect it, and you still going to pay me, and we'll be around there Sunday or Monday or when I get to it. And that's the bottom line. Absolutely not. We're not controlled and ruled by no dictates or no fear, no man, and no job. Niggas, you serious? Knowing your Father in heaven know what you have need of, you niggas scared of a job. Get your cow behind out of here. Nigga, grow some nuts, nigga. Untuck your testicles. Stand up and be a man and stand for what's right and stand for what you profess to believe in. Knowing that Yahuwah provides. See, well, that's the point of, we don't trust the man. You don't believe he provides. You don't believe he'll reward you for standing on his name. Because it ain't about keeping not wanting to sin. It's the fact that I'm standing on his name. That's it. It ain't about, I don't want to break the Sabbath. Man, I roll with Yahuwah, cuz. That's the first thing my man asked. He said, is it Jewish? Hey, man, if you want to do all that, because I ain't got time to be going through all that. You know what I'm talking about? I said, hey, man, we just do what the book say, my G. He said, I feel you on that. I'm a book by myself. Yeah, that's it. We roll with the word, my G. We roll with Yahuwah, man. That's what he on. That's what I'm on. I ain't got to go through no tongue wrestling or no in-depth conversation unless you really want to know what type of time we on. Because once I tell you we do what the book say, hey, man, that's just what it is. He respected it. What else he going to do? He ain't got no choice. Shoot, pay me for what I done and leave me alone. If you don't like it, man, 1 and 1. The burden which Habakkuk the prophet did see, O Yahuwah, how long shall I cry? Will you not hear, even cry out of you of violence? Will you not save? Why do you show me iniquity and cause me to behold grievous for spoiling and violence are before me? And there that raise up strife and contention. Therefore the law is slack, and judgment do never go forth. For the wicked compass the righteous, and therefore wrong judgment proceed. Mm. Mm, mm, mm. Come on down here to verse 12. Are you not from everlasting, O Yahuwah, my Elohim? My Kadash one, we shall not die, O Yahuwah. You have ordained them for judgment, O mighty Elohim. You have established them for correction. That's what happened with Saul. Did he not provide him for judgment? and establish him for correction. He said, David is praying, shoot, judge my enemies by your strength. John 17. And 6. I said, that's pure love. Name of that beverage. I have manifested your name unto the men which you gave me out of the world, and they were. You gave them me, and they've kept your word. Now they have known that all things whatsoever you have given me are of you. For I've given unto them your words, which you gave me. They have received them and have known that surely I come out from you, and they have believed that you did send me. I pray for them. I pray not for the world, but for them for which you have given me, for they are thine. All mine are thine, and thine are mine. I'm esteeming them. And now I am no more in the world, but these are in the world. And I come to you for God, Father, keep them to your own name, who you have given me, so that they may be one as we are. And of course, we came here because the main aspect of what did he pray for? Give him the esteem on the earth because he finished the work, and give him to the esteem which he had from the foundation of the world. Because he saved Yahushua by his name, because he came in his Abba's name. They received him not. And his enemies will be judged according to the strength of Elohim, of course, at the end. But let's continue so we can get on up out of here. Back to Psalm 54. Verse 2. Hear my prayer, O Elohim. Give ear to the words of my mouth. For strangers are risen up against me. The Ziphims correlate to the Romans. And oppressors seek after my soul. Saul equates to the Pharisees. They have not set Elohim before them, Selah. So we already know this. That takes us back to the conversation we had about Abraham and Sarah last week. That he was like, shoot, I didn't think these people fear God here. So remember, Yahushua told him, whom you say is your Elohim. Because if he was your Elohim, you would love me, because I proceed forth and come from him. I come not of myself. This man sat back and just said, period. Pause for a second. Think about it. They ain't set Elohim before them. Did Saul set Elohim before him? No. Saul was lifted up in his pride and righteousness and said he see. John chapter 9, verse 39. See what he said about these scribes and Pharisees? See, that's good old Saul right here. 9 and 39, if you would. And Yahushua said, for judgment I come into this world, that they which see might might see, and that they which see might be made blind. Some of the Pharisees which were with him heard these words and said unto him, are we blind also? Yahushua said unto them, if you were blind, you should have no sin. But now you say, we see, therefore your sin remain. Remember what Saul said? I have performed the words of you. So you said you see, but your sin remain. Verse 4, but Elohim is my helper. The Lord is with them that uphold my soul. Let's look at helper. Azar. Of course, you know, the succorer, aid, and support. Help me. Ayin, Zan, and Raj. You know what I'm saying? The highest known that the son was cut and sacrificed. Therefore, he was there to help him, to resurrect him from the dead. He shall reward evil unto my enemies. Cut them off in your truth. So, of course, we know that all Yahushua's enemies will meet their end. When you look at a moth, of course, you know that's the faithfulness, the reliableness, the divine instruction, testimony, judgment. Either way it goes, the same word that you reject is the same word that's going to judge it. So cut them off in your faith. Because what if some did not believe? Does that make the faith of Elohim of none effect? Elohim forbid. I will freely sacrifice unto you. I will praise your name, O Yahuwah, for it is good. For he have delivered me out of all trouble. My eye has seen his desire upon my enemies. Now, desire here is not there. It's just my eyes have seen his enemies. His eyes seen that Saul was the enemy. But he said he'll freely sacrifice. And that's what I want you to consider as we get this slide on out of here. Freely, you should be familiar, is Nadava. That is a free will offering. Noon, Dalit, Bot, and Hey. You can behold that the son was sacrificed for life, and he did that thing willingly. See, remember, Paul made a statement that if I do it willingly, then I have a reward. Same thing that he said with Solomon, to be of a ready heart and a willing mind. See, if you're going to come and make a sacrifice to Yahuwah, it need to be a voluntary offer. Something that you desire to do out of your own heart, not that you compelled to do, that you feel forced to do, that you feel like you have to do. You shouldn't be forced to sing praises to his name. You shouldn't have to sing praises to his name just for a Facebook post, just for in front of other people. I told you your heart and soul should rejoice on general principle when you sitting around doing nothing. And not even a conscious thing. It's different if it's conscious. Your heart should rejoice in this thing constantly and consistently, no matter the situation or circumstance, no matter if it's good, no matter if it's bad, no matter if it's high, no matter if it's low, no matter if it's sunny, no matter if it's overcast, because Yahuwah is good in the midst of all of it. He is worthy for praise and honor and esteem in the midst of all of it. Because in actuality and reality, there's nothing too hard for Yahuwah. There's not a situation or circumstance that he cannot remedy and change at the drop of a dime. Because this man say he take princes from dunghills and set them with kings. So it's nothing. David was a sheep boy. He kept sheep. He was a shepherd boy. He made him one of the greatest kings in the history of mankind. Nothing, it was nothing that David did. Who chose to do that? This is one of the aspects why the book says that pain endureth for and weeping endureth for a night, but joy come in the morning. But you have to have the patience to wait for the joy. See, we want things on our own timing because you don't trust Yahuwah. Amen. We don't trust Yahuwah. That's where that's going to come from. That's why you won't go into the wilderness and get away from the angry and contentious woman and be to yourself. Because, see, I ain't even grabbed Elijah because I had Elijah in mind, and I might grab him on Shabbat, Yahuwah permit, because he did the same thing. He did the same thing when he was dealing with blasphemous Yasharal, worshiping Baal, slaughtered the prophets of Baal, separated himself from that angry, contentious woman, and went off in the wilderness, and Yahuwah gave him sustenance and strength in the midst of that. But see, nobody want to talk about that because nobody believe in that. Nobody don't trust in that. Nobody don't trust in that. You got to respect, say, I've been telling y'all that for years. Don't be out here going through the motions. Do it with all your heart and all your strength, or don't do it at all. Because if you're going through the motions, you ain't gonna get nothing. Because you ain't doing it with a ready heart and a willing mind. It's not you're not freely sacrificing. It's not a voluntary offer. Let me read you that in Corinthians 9. 1 Corinthians 9, if you will, what I'm talking about. What the man said. Remember, Yahushua said, I laid my life down of myself. No man take it from me. He was a free will offering. He was a free will offering. He volunteered for that. He volunteered for that. That's the part that we don't like to sit back and realize he volunteered for that. He volunteered for that. 1 Corinthians 9, man, we out of here. 1 Corinthians 9 and 16. He said, for though I preach the gospel, I have nothing to esteem of, for necessity is laid upon me. Woe is unto me if I preach not the gospel. For if I do this thing willingly, I have a reward. But if against my will, a dispensation of the gospel is committed unto me. What is my reward then? Truly, that when I preach the gospel, I make the gospel of Mashiach without charge, that I abuse not my power in the gospel. For though I be free from all men, yet I've made myself a servant unto all, that I might gain the more. Now that'll be coming into play again, you who are willing on Saturday. But notice what he said, if I do it willingly, I have a reward. If not, I'm just doing a job. I ain't going to get nothing. Freely sacrifice. But hallelujah for Yahushua the word. Appreciate y'all time this evening. I pray that everybody gets knowledge, wisdom, and understanding and insight into what we're going over in this regard. And bless you out the house of Elohim in the name of Yahushua. Let your faith be strong. Let your feet be rooted and don't be moved. And again, man, shoot. Do it from the deep recesses of your heart. Do it because it's what your desire to do, and do it with joy. Do it with delight. Do it because that's what you want to do. Not because it's a burden, not because that's what you think everybody else is doing, but do it because that's what's in your heart's desire to do. The ability to serve Yahuwah is so much easier when you do it with joy and desire. See what I'm saying? It's a light thing. And truth be told, it ain't even much you got to do. See, I got some things to show you. Because it was something that I had mentioned that I would do. And I'm going to do it for the male and female perspective. It might be a one-time only deal. I think Yahuwah willing, I might can be able to pull it off in one day, but we shall see if he permits. And we out of here.